Hello, May class, and welcome to your next English lesson. Today we'll be looking at some of the sentence level things that we were discussing. So particularly, we will be focusing on imperative verbs and some adverbs, and also making sure that our writing is precise and specific with what instructions we are giving. So our learning objective today is, can I use imperative verbs to create simple instructions? So we're looking at imperative verbs. So one of the key features that are found when writing instructions are imperative verbs. So imperative verbs are bossy verbs. They make a sentence bossy. So if you can imagine giving an order or a command, these are the command that we give are the imperative verbs. So they are direct and they are sharp. So for example, line up for assembly, turn left at the traffic lights, mix the flour and the eggs together. On the previous page, we can see some examples of bossy verbs or imperative verbs. So add, beg, bake, bring, buy, behave, explain, jump, listen, roll, slice, sort, hide, heat, turn, use, undo, write. So they tell you what to do. We put them at the beginning of a sentence, which changes these sentences then into a command or action that needs to be done. We're going to read over the section where we would find the imperative verbs in our story map. And I'm going to read along, and I want you to think for yourself as you're going about what that instruction is telling you. So, what you have to do. First, you should carefully train your army in the art of warfare. Secondly, you must bravely lead an army across the sea to new land. After that, fiercely invade the lands, plundering and murdering those in your way. Now you must make sure that you defeat anyone that tries to stand in your way. Rule over your kingdom proudly. Now, the imperative verbs that could be found in those steps are as follows. We're asking you to train your army, lead the army across the sea, invade the lands, defeat anyone that stands in your way, and to rule over your kingdom. So I'm giving you a command. I'm giving you actions to take part in that will help you to build your empire. Because remember, that is what our instructions are based on. We're looking at how to build an empire. We often find that adverbs follow the imperative verbs given in the sentence. So I want you to pause for a minute and think, what is an adverb? Remember that adverbs add more information to your verb. So often it's how you do something, the manner in which you do it, how often you do it. And we also remember that quite a lot of the time our adverbs end with ly. So this allows us, the adverbs allow us to understand how the instruction should be done. So read through those sentences for you quickly now. And can you find the adverbs in the steps that have been given? So pause the video now, read through and see if you can find the adverbs in the sentences. I'm going to try and highlight for you the adverbs that we found once we've done that. So if we read this together, we can see that it says how we've understood that in the previous slide, we were looking at what the imperative verbs were, and these will then tell you how to do that imperative verb. So first you should, that is not the highlighter tool. Right, I'm just going to underline it rather. So you should you should carefully train your army. You must bravely lead an army. You must fiercely invade the lands, and then you can rule over your kingdom proudly. So those are adverbs that are adding to the imperative verb that we were discussing. You are telling me how to take part in the instruction, or how to do what I'm commanding you or instructing you to do. So a short task now. On your whiteboard boards, I would like you to use these imperative verbs in a set of instructions to do something of your choice. I've written an example for you down here, but we will write another one for you. So the first thing, the imperative verbs that we are using are pull, switch, run, and stop. And we're asking you to write simple instructions for you. So I've written an example there of how to scare your parents. First, switch off the lights. Next, stop moving and sit very quietly in the dark. Then pull a scary face when they see you and roar. Finally, run away laughing. So that's using those 4 imperative verbs. Remember that we will start with a fronted adverbial of time, just so we better understand when to do it. So we would start with first. So first, and then because it's a fronted adverbial, it should have a little comma over it. And we could say, if we're making it, we could use the word stop, depending on what you were doing your instructions on. So what you should do is have a reason. What you should do is think of something you can use these imperative verbs for, and then create some sentences. So if we were going to say, how would you hide from your brother and sister? You could say, how to hide from your brother and sister. So first, stop making any noise. Second, switch off all the lights. Third, run to the curtain and pull it around you. Well, run to the curtain. And lastly, pull the curtain around you and stop moving so they can't see you. All right, so I want you to think about that. Think about using these words in some sentences, and then write them down on your whiteboards now. Right. Once we've done that task, don't forget to share with me, or share a picture of it on Tapestry, and then we'll move on to the next task as well. So making sure you're keeping track of all your work while you are doing it. So when writing instructions, it is also important that we be very clear with our instructions and use of imperative verbs. So instructions obviously help us to build things, to do things, to finish tasks. But sometimes if we don't give clear instructions, the people reading our instructions may not understand what we need to be doing. So imagine that whoever is reading your instructions has never heard about what you were writing about. So for example, if you are building a paper aeroplane, they've never built a paper aeroplane before. How are you going to explain it to them if they haven't ever built that before and they don't know anything about it? You need to be very clear with your instructions. So we're going to have a fun task. We're going to have a fun task quickly that I would like you to take part in, and see what happens when your instructions are not clear. So I'm going to give you a set of instructions, and they aren't going to be very specific. And I would like you to follow the instructions and see if you can draw what I have drawn. Because with instructions, if we were given instructions to draw something, the instructions should mean that what you draw and what I draw are very similar. So I'm going to give you a bit of extra information and tell you that we're going to be drawing a cat. So do you want to be able to draw a funny cartoon? Follow these instructions to draw a cartoon cat. And you can see I've got my heading. Sorry, you can see I've laid out the instructions the same way you would normal instructions. So I've got my heading, I've got my introductory paragraph, I've got my list of what you will need, and then I've also got my steps in which you need to undertake what I'm giving you. So I've said, you'll need a pencil and some paper. So what you need to do first. So as I read these, please can you finish these instructions? First, draw a circle. Then draw another circle below the first one. After that, draw 4 legs. Then draw a tail. And finally, draw a face on the top circle and add 2 ears and whiskers. So when you're drawing, now that we've read these instructions, you can see that I wasn't very clear with what the instructions were saying. So your drawing, does it look something like mine? Probably not. It is important that when we are giving instructions, we are specific with each task we are giving those that are reading the instructions. If I am drawing something, I should say, draw an oblong shaped circle. So more of a kind of a longer circle. Then at the top left-hand side of that circle, draw a smaller circle. Draw 4 paws underneath the longer circle. Draw a long tail coming out of the right-hand side of the long circle. Draw a face within the small circle. On top of that small circle, draw 2 smaller ears, 2 small pointy ears, and draw 3 sets of whiskers out each side of the nose that you have drawn on the cat's face. That would have been more specific than the ones that I gave you. And your drawing may have looked a little bit more like my drawing. So the 3 tasks that I would like you to do are as follows. The first task is to create a set of instructions about anything of your choice, using the words from the vocabulary box below. So we've got eat, switch, jump, cross, cut, bend, boil, mix, rotate, turn, score, take, fold, put, place, make, and climb. It can be a short set of instructions, but I would like you to write some steps on how to do something using those vocabulary words. Your second task is to edit your instructions if they do not include adverbs. Make sure that each step that you have written includes an adverb and underline the adverb that you have used in those sentences. And then lastly, create instructions on how to draw something for someone in your house. Are your instructions clear? So without telling them what they are drawing, maybe you can write some instructions for either an adult or a sibling in your house and see if they can draw what you have asked them to draw by following just your instructions. Don't forget to share your tasks with us on Tapestry and your work so we can comment on it, and we will be talking about this next week if there is any, or we can talk about these in our live lessons if there's anything that you have misunderstood or you're not quite sure of. So please don't hesitate to ask us.